Right, we are actually just heading into Wiltshire now. We're still in Dorset at the present time, but there's the sign for Wiltshire. And why we're in Wiltshire is because we're going to go to Berwick St Leonard's, is where Thomas Aylesbury, Aylesbury, isn't it?
Aylesbury,
Thomas Aylesbury, the Reverend Thomas Aylesbury was the Reverend there in Berwick St Leonard's, and he met with the Clubmen at Mere. So we're going to go to Berwick St Leonard's first, and then we're going to go to Mere and talk about the Clubmen meeting there in 1645.
Are we going to walk up another hill, mate?
Another ancient hill fort awaits us. Berwick St Leonard. Yes.
Yes.
And the little parish is called Berwick St Leonard. But this was the church where the Reverend Thomas Aylesbury was made the Reverend in 1625. Now, Thomas Aylesbury is a man of note in the Clubmen movement in Wiltshire, and is recorded at Mere at a rendezvous there in 1645. But what I wanted to do was just pop in, look at the church quickly, and then we'll go up to Mere and do a little bit from there. Okay?
Okay.
Good.
Let's go and have a look.
Good. Let's look inside the church quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Right, I just want to point up to here quickly before we leave the church of Berwick St Leonard, because that is a memorial to the Howes, and George Howe is buried in the church. Now, George Howe built the King's House in the parish of Berwick St Leonard, and in that house William of Orange stayed with Lord Clarendon, I think, at the time in 1688. But there's just a little bit more history of the church. And the son afterwards, I think his son was George as well, and he was made a baron by Charles II after he was restored on the throne. But that's just a little bit more history about the church in Berwick St Leonard of Thomas Aylesbury. Just show you the Bible, Sheila. We've got the Bible here.
It's a bit of light reading.
It is a bit of light reading, but there you go, Berwick St Leonard. But I want to show you these books here. These are big. Look at that one.
Wow, blimey. What does that sound?
Book in half, isn't it?
What does it say on the front?
It's the Bible.
It just says the Bible.
It's the Bible, yeah, but I mean, that's a hell of a book. You know what I mean? That'll put the back out any day. Trying to read that, but there you go. But, and I want to show you Castle Hill behind us, which is just on the north side of Mere, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
North side of Mere. And we're going to pan round. And what you see before you now is Mere Down. Now to our left, that's part of Mere Down, but there's an ancient hill fort that way. I don't think you can see it, can you? Not yet. It's quite a way over that way, isn't it?
You can't sit yet. We'll have to wait till we
get up there
the
and have a look.
Yeah.
And Mere Down is right in front of us. And when we get over the ridge of this hill, there's a massive natural amphitheatre. But in 1645, this is where the Clubmen met. Somewhere around this area. I think I know where it's at, actually, because there's an old map and it mentions Mere Beacon. And if you look at some of the John Speed stuff, it doesn't say Mere Beacon behind this natural amphitheatre, which we'll see once we get to the top of the ridge. But we'll walk up here and do a bit more from the top of the hill.
All right, I'll catch you up.
turned round and I've shown you the natural amphitheatre of this place, and behind that ridge, we saw it when we panned out, is Mere Beacon. Now, there's a report in the Committee for Plundered Ministers in 1646, and there's a gentleman there who writes about the Clubmen rendezvous here, and where we've just been to Berwick St Leonard's with Thomas Aylesbury. Thomas Aylesbury was here on the 25th of July 1645, and there's a reference to him being very forward in the club business and at a rendezvous by Mere Beacon. And it mentions Mr. Young being here. Our friend Thomas Young from Manston was also here speaking to a crowd of people. And what happened here, Mr. Young was making a long speech to the people gathered here. And at the end of that speech, Thomas Aylesbury from Berwick St Leonard's, where we went to earlier on, grabbed the prayer book, the common prayer book of Mr. Young, and said, Mr. Young, let not the book of common prayer be forgotten, but let that be upheld. So we just know the Clubmen made a rendezvous here. Now I think it was this spot because it's just a natural amphitheatre, and that's what I'm going to go with really, but it may have been the ancient fort over to this way, and this is all part of the ridgeway, isn't it? Where we walked in?
Yeah, along
the ground ridge. What's it called?
Grim's Ditch.
Grim's Ditch.
Yes, you know when we were over at Grovely Wood, and the path that goes through there is Grim's Ditch.
This is part of it.
It's part of it. Yeah, the top of this ridge. Yeah, okay. It goes for miles.
Right. As a little footnote to add on to things that happened here, why this meeting here with the Clubmen with Thomas Young and Thomas Aylesbury was taking place with the Clubmen here on the 25th of July 1645. Fairfax was at Bridgewater, and he was having a meeting with his Council of War, I don't know what they call it, Committee of... Anyway, they were talking about Goring's forces at Bridgewater, and they were talking about should they go for Goring or would they have to deal with the Clubmen. And that's just an interesting little note to tie in with the Clubmen here, because maybe the Clubmen here were talking about Fairfax there, and Fairfax there was talking about the Clubmen here.
Exactly.
And what they are up to. So, but there you go, just a little footnote. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, that one far back here. This is where we just walked up, but that is Duncliffe Hill. Yep. Where the club had met in August 4th, 1645. And they met here in July 25th, 1645. Everything's 1645. And over there is Castle Hill, which we showed when we came in. So there you go. I like this spot here.
It's beautiful actually.
It is.
And it is a natural amphitheatre, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep, that's beautiful.
Yep. So I think that's, I don't know where else we're going to go in Wiltshire. We've got Devizes to go to yet. And Wareham, Blandford and Dorset, and then we've got Shaftesbury and Dorset yet. The big one. Talking of Shaftesbury, Thomas Aylesbury, blimey, that's windy now.
It's really windy.
Thomas Aylesbury got arrested at Shaftesbury. No, he got arrested at Shaftesbury with the other Clubmen back in 1645 on August the 2nd or 3rd, and ended up in London in jail for a year. So that's interesting. Maybe he was arrested at the same time as Thomas Young was arrested, which is my favourite Clubman of all time, Thomas Young. What's your Sheila?
George Hall's.
George Hall, see? She remembers one, I can remember two.
At least I'm glad I thought so.
We're at the top of Mere Down now. We shot the film down in the valley bit with the amphitheatre, and we're at the top now. And over there is the ancient hill fort. Yep, see it?
Yep.
And as Sheila pans round, you can see the ridgeway at the top of Mere Down go around. Right, And that's all the filming for today here, but check out the website, Clubmen 1645, work in progress, and see you at Shaftesbury.